All right. My name is Jim Briody. I am a solution architect here at BlueCat Networks. And today we're going to present to you BlueCat Cloud Discovery and Visibility, which is going to help you get one IP space to rule them all using the power of automation. So the first thing you need to know is, who is BlueCat? BlueCat is the adaptive DNS company. We work with some of the largest organizations in the world to help extend, automate, and secure their complex networks. Today, automation is very important as organizations adopt hybrid and multi-cloud strategies. Fact of the matter is, legacy DDI systems can't cope, and they exacerbate DNS silos and blind spots. Many organizations today are at different stages in their cloud journey. Regardless of where they are, NetOps is blamed for application downtime when infrastructure is being created by DevOps or applications in public clouds. It's no wonder why network teams have not pulled the trigger on cloud adoption, or others are struggling to manage and control it with so many DNS silos being created. Thing is, you can break down DNS silos no matter your cloud strategy using the power of automation. So for NetOps and CloudOps teams who don't have centralized visibility into IP addresses and DNS names in the cloud space, BlueCat Cloud Discovery and Visibility is an automation application that ensures that all data in the cloud is added to your IPAM. Unlike other DDI vendors, our solution provides end-to-end visibility across popular public clouds to eliminate IP conflicts, so you can accelerate application deployment and eliminate outages. Proof is in the pudding. Let me show you. So we're going to get into a quick demo here, showing some of the different pieces that are at play when it comes to BlueCat's cloud discovery and visibility. As you can see on this slide, we've got obviously your cloud space that you guys are responsible for, that you own, right? And then you have, the BlueCat Address Manager, which is the single source of truth that we want to populate with all of that great cloud data, right? And then the BlueCat Discovery and Visibility tool, which will be running on something we call Gateway in the middle to set up that automation between the two cloud spaces and that address manager single source of truth. Like I said, there's three main areas that we want to focus on. First one is going to be this BlueCat Address Manager, which is that single source of truth that we want to populate with all of our relevant cloud DNS and IP address information. Right, so if we look over here at the particular configuration we're in right now, you can see that we're in AWS. We also have our internal DNS and IP address information, but we're focused on the cloud for today. And if you notice, we don't currently have anything as it relates to Azure, right? So what we want to show you first is how we can go out and quickly perform smart discovery on all of the different instances and compute that we have running in the cloud, right? So first things first is populating this address manager with that data. And the way that we would do that is by leveraging our BlueCat Gateway that I mentioned earlier. So BlueCat Gateway is a essentially middleware that runs on a Docker container. And this is going to enable us to set up lots of different technology integrations with all sorts of technologies. But for today, we're going to be focusing on this Azure Cloud Discovery workflow that we've created. So if you can look over here in Azure, we'll see that we have different resource groups, right? So we've got different subscriptions and then resource groups that are associated with those subscriptions. And we want to be able to get different resource groups into our BlueCat Address Manager. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have an Azure username, and then we're going to go ahead and type our Azure password. This will be your Azure password. You click over here to make sure that it's right. Gives you the check mark, and when it gives you the check mark, it's going to give you those subscription IDs and resource groups that we can click through. So I actually do want to be in this SE BlueCat one. Could also go to POC, but we'll stick in this one for now. And then I want to pick TW resource group. All right, and once we've clicked that, there's some other options that we need to go in and choose. So this is going to be a name that you give your particular configuration, which when we were clicking over and saw the AWS different configurations, we saw some of those names. So, I think this is a totally fine name for us to look for when we move back over into our address manager. Discovery options. This is where you're going to define some of the metadata that you actually want to pull in once you kick off that smart discovery. and then this target zone. So this is going to be a place where we know that we can put different DNS resolution paths on, right? So we'll leverage, naming conventions from the Azure resources in order to put them .bluecatlabs.com. Now this could be any target zone, but we've chosen to use bluecatlabs.com in this particular case. Visibility options, this is where you set different stuff like enable visibility after discovery, which we'll show you a little bit later with some rapid response. But what that means is that once you've kicked off the discovery for your particular cloud region, it's going to continually keep that up to date as things spin up and down within your environment. Update DNS, this is going to be selected deployment. We'll also get into this later. This is where you are going to specify a particular DNS server to deploy that newly found cloud information to, so that you can have instant resolution to all of your clients. Visibility management, this is stuff that we're going to be taking a look at after we've actually performed the discovery and visibility, so that we can see different, events that happen down there. But for right now, we've pretty much covered everything we need to in order to kick off that smart discovery. So we'll just hit smart discovery right here, and you'll see that your workflow instantly kicks off and starts discovering different areas within our Azure cloud space. Once it hits, it's going to eventually say that it's starting visibility, because we did have that box checked down there. Once it's started that visibility, that does mean that it's completed the smart discovery, and we can actually go over into the address manager to validate that. Right, so it's still importing Azure resources, and this happens relatively quickly, so it should actually be able to go out and find out all of that IP address and DNS information for the TW resource group relatively quickly. All right, so you can see now that it has that visibility starting from resource group. This means that we've completed smart discovery, so we can click right over here into our address manager, give it a quick refresh. Right now, if we go into this configuration, we should be able to see, there we go, Microsoft Azure. And remember, we had our TW resource group, which we named it, right? And so now we have IPspace that we didn't have at all, that's now associated with our particular cloud resource group. All right, so now that we have performed smart discovery and gone from having no IP space whatsoever and discovering all of our Azure East region, we want to show you kind of how we can continually monitor and update the IP space as it relates to your cloud space. So for that, we're going to switch over to Amazon Web Services, because I know some of you guys have multi-cloud strategy, so it'll be nice to see some of that. And then also, one of the better places to take a look at kind of this rapid response is going to be our devices tab. So what we're looking at here is actually a bunch of different EC2 instances that we have in this particular US East 2 region of AWS. And we can show you those real quickly if we look over at our cloud space, right? So we can see here we're in Ohio, so US East 2, right? And we've got all sorts of different EC2 instances that are either stopped or running. And you notice if we look over here at that address manager, we've pulled in all of this different metadata associated with it, just like we did on the other one. Let's see, the metadata that we've selected here, right, to get the instances and all of that. So if we look over here, we see that, we have certain ones running and stopped. So what we want to do is kick off one of our instances and see whether or not Gateway is going to catch that, right? So we'll use JB test S1, look over here just to check. You can see that that's currently stopped. So we're just gonna go ahead and check it. Decide to change the instance state to start. Okay, and we'll quickly click over here to the gateway, and we can see that that state change is kicked off, right? So the gateway noticed that something is changing about that particular EC2 instance, right? So if we wait over here for this to change to running, just do a quick refresh on our address manager, and we can see that now we have JB test S1 running. Now, the important thing to note about this is that if we look in the DNS space, right, we can see that we have JB test S1 now sitting here with an IP address, you know, for that particular record, right? So we have JB test S1.bluecatlabs.com, which again is going to be related to that target zone that we specify right here, bluecatlabs.com. So what we want to prove is that when we stop JB test S1, it's going to do rapid response and it's going to reconcile that, which means it's going to take back that particular DNS record, right? So just like we started it, we're going to have an instant state change and stop it. Yes. All right. Again, we're going to see that gateway is noticing that state change instantly. Right. As soon as this says stop, we'll be able to check over in our devices tab, right, and see that it's stopped. So should just be one refresh now, maybe two. It's a race with AWS usually. You can see that it's still stopping over here. As soon as that's stopped, we'll notice it. So it's stopped. You can quickly see in our device list that it is now once again stopped. And if we go back over to DNS, there's no longer a JB test S1 resource record that's associated with it. So this just goes ahead and shows you how, you know, if things are spun up and spun down in the cloud, even if we were to add or delete new EC2 instances, all of that's going to be captured by Gateway, leveraging CloudWatch, and it's going to update the BlueCat Address Manager as soon as AWS is updated, and it's going to reconcile for those particular DNS records and IP addresses associated with your instances. All right, so now that we've shown you Smart Discovery in order to take all of the compute that you have out in your cloud space and bring it into this central IP address management that is the BlueCat Address Manager, and we've shown you how you can set up that continuous visibility to keep things up to date as things are spun up and spun down and created and deleted in your cloud space. Now, the one last thing I want to show you, being that we are a DNS company, is what you can do with that DNS data that you've now pulled into your IP address manager. So if you remember from earlier, we've got all these DNS records that we've now ingested from AWS. And I also touched on this particular visibility option here, which is update DNS with a selective deployment. And what that means is that when it goes into the address manager with all these new DNS records, we have a particular deployment role set up with our BDDS, which is BlueCat DNS and DHCP server, so that it can resolve those particular records, right? So now for any of those DNS spaces that we had in the external on BlueCat Labs, we'll be able to resolve very quickly by pointing it to that particular DNS server. So for me, my DNS server is sitting at 192.168.191.8. We're going to go ahead and dig for, let's just say HTDB-1, which we can see we have in here. We're going to get the response right here with no error and the IP address. And that's BlueCat Cloud Discovery and Visibility. With BlueCat's automation platform, it's just that easy to achieve cloud and on-prem harmony, so you can embrace hybrid and multi-cloud today. To learn more about automation, you can join the discussion on Network VIP or visit us at bluecatnetworks.com. Thank you.